In this video, Myron explained why men and women are different and why we are in a male-led society, but it also is kind of led by women at the same time. He breaks it down with analogies and metaphors about how we're in a gynocentric society as a whole. If you guys like this content, like his
Ugly truth, man. If you take an average woman, she's going to think that she's better than the average guy. And she's going to think that the average guy does not necessarily qualify for her. And this is the postmodern world that we live in now. Post-feminism, where men are looked at as expendable. They're not respected. They're not cared about. Nobody gives a shit. It's like, yo, figure it out. But we have all these social conventions for women. Now, here's the problem. Here's the thing. I'm not here to cry about men having to be responsible and getting their shit together and being held to a different standard. I don't have a problem with that. My issue is that men are held to these standards while simultaneously not having the same authority. Okay, so women have all the authority of men with like none of the responsibility. And that is the problem. Okay. That is the big problem right there. Because if you're going to give women all this power with no responsibility, it's basically like giving children dynamite. And that's what we've effectively done. Okay. That's literally what we've done. But yeah, that's where we are, guys. That is where we are. And you know, the other thing also that I've noticed from talking with women, right, is women are keenly unaware of how much men contribute to society versus them, right? When women say shit like we don't need men, blah, 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 they forget the fact that men control the infrastructure. They forget that men are the ones that protect the country, right? Keep the country going. They do all the manufacturing jobs, all the hard labor jobs, all the military jobs, all the police jobs, all the firefighter jobs, all the, sewage, sanitation, electricity, power. Like men control all of these positions that allow women to be in a privileged first world state where they can say the ridiculous and things that they say. I'm going to say that again. Okay? So I need you guys to really understand this shit. Women are in such a privileged position, and we've civilized the world so much for these that they actually feel that they can say shit like, we don't need men when men run 90% of the infrastructure. We run the sewage, the sanitation, the electricity, the power, the entire infrastructure, all the skyscrapers you see, all the marvels of modern man, modern humanity, right? We're created, invented, and built by men, okay? Women don't really have a need to forge any type of ingenuity. And the reason for that is because a woman's ability to mate and or create a family is not contingent upon their ability to be productive. I'm going to say that again for you guys. The reason why men have done all of this and created all these different things is because men understand that their ability to procreate, which is why we're put on earth, by the way, is heavily contingent upon their ability to create value for the world. And this manifests itself in skyscrapers and electricity, in creating shelter, and creating air conditioning, cameras, internet. All of this stuff was created by men. Because men want to get laid, if we're going to go ahead and simply put it like that, right? So women don't invent anything or don't create infrastructure or contribute to infrastructure because they don't have to, okay? And I would argue the more attractive a woman is, the less likely she's going to be to caring about creating any type of ingenuity because they don't need to. Simply put, they simply don't need to. Okay. And are there going to be some women out there that are going to be geniuses and be super smart and contribute and stuff? Of course. But the reality is, if women don't have to, they're not gonna. Okay. If you're able to get a bunch of while being a fat, well, you're probably going to stay a fat because you have not been pushed to become a better man to get laid. Okay. That is precisely how women are. Women don't feel the need to be appreciative, to be nice, to be feminine, to be submissive, to be a good girl, because society is going to reward them no matter what they do. Okay. So since society is going to reward them for no matter what they do, this is why they behave so poorly. This is why they're so rude. This is why they're so crass. This is why they're a pain in the ass. This is why so many modern women are insufferable. And most importantly, this is why so many women are ungrateful. Okay. Extremely ungrateful. Most women are ingrates when it comes to the contribution of man to society that allows them to live this first world, convenient Uber Eats, Uber, DoorDash, instant gratification society that we've built up. Men created that shit, not women. Okay. And what makes it even more ludicrous is if someone like me comes along and brings attention to this fact that men run 90% of ingenuity when it comes to human evolution, they get mad. They call me a misogynist. They call me an ass. They say that I need to be deplatformed. They say that I'm a bigot, right? But it comes back simply to like what we realized during the course of that debate. As you guys can see, right, the discourse I just had with these morons 20 minutes ago, right, confirms what I've always told you guys about progressives. They don't operate on facts. They don't operate on reality. You had these lying when I'm playing the video in 1080p of him impeding the law enforcement officer. And they still think they have grounds to stand on. They conceded. Yes, he did close the distance. Yes, he did get in between the woman and the man. Okay, argument done, dumb f. But they're too to understand that this is a sequence. If you get in the way and you impede the law enforcement officer, everything that comes after that is your fault. But since progressives don't live in reality and they don't deal well with accountability, women for that matter also don't deal with accountability well, it's a foreign concept that someone would get involved in the middle of a law enforcement operation and then around and then find out. Progressives and women always have a problem with the find out part. And the reason for this is because women a lot of times, when they're looking at the Alex Preddy situation, they're using their female privilege lens. What do I mean by this? Let me explain. Women are used to certain treatment, okay? Women are used to getting the benefit of the doubt. They're used to being treated with kid gloves on, okay? And I've told you guys this before, but I'm going to say it again, and this Alex Preddy situation perfectly encapsulates this. Women struggle with empathy, okay? Now, let me be clear about this. I am not saying that women struggle with sympathy. They struggle with empathy. Two different words, and I'm going to distinguish it here right now for you guys. Sympathy is the ability to feel sorry for someone. Fine, they do have that ability, okay? Absolutely. But empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, okay? What women don't understand, right, is that men and women live drastically different lives. Drastically different. If we have to make this like a video game, right? Men are playing Halo or Life on legendary mode with like no ammunition, right? Limited loadouts at the beginning of the game. Women are playing the game on easy mode, okay? With a game shark attached, which gives you all the cheat codes. That is how women live life. So when they see something like this happen to Alex Preddy, right? They're interpreting that from their privileged lens. This is very important that you guys understand this shit, okay? Because this is precisely why women shouldn't have the right to vote or have any type of real rights in society. The reason why is because they lack this empathy to understand the male experience. So everything that they see, they interpret it through their own female lens because they're by the way. That's a whole other conversation. Now you guys are probably saying, Myron, this is bigoted. Why are you saying this, blah, blah. But what about men? Men aren't empathetic either. Actually, they are. And I'll explain why. In order for a man to attract a woman, right, and be able to procreate and have sex and have a family, he must be empathetic to women to some degree, okay? Men must understand women to get laid and procreate. Women do not have to understand men to get laid and procreate. See that difference? That's extremely important and pertinent, okay? So a lot of the people that are coming out and saying, oh, Alex Preddy shouldn't have got shot, blah, 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 it's either women or feminized men that are and don't understand that there's going to be consequences to your action, right? Guys that are rationally sound, guys that understand how the world works, etc., right? It's pretty easy for us. Yeah, you can't touch a federal agent while armed and think that it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a really bad time, right? But since women lack the empathy to understand that as a man, if you touch a federal agent, they're going to go harder on you because you're a man, because women don't deal with that level of escalation when they get involved with law enforcement. They can't even fathom how it escalated to the point where they had to shoot him. But this comes from their own inability to exercise any type of real empathy to the male experience. All of us get it, right? Well, you're a dude. You're not a small guy. You're touching a federal agent while he's in the middle of touching somebody. He pepper sprays you. You resist. Then someone says gun. I mean, it's almost like a foregone conclusion that he's going to get shot doing some shit like that, right? And then as we find out more about this guy, Alex Preddy, we find out that this guy has been like a career agitator, which we're going to talk about that later on when I talk about Kyle Kalinske. But the bottom line that you guys need to understand from this conversation, right, and watching me, lose my mind talking these is this. Women are simply in a privileged position where they don't understand how the world works and they don't see how the world works from your perspective, okay? This is why deferring to their authority, deferring to their opinion, a lot of the times is okay? It just is. Not just with attracting women and worldviews and all this other shit, but the problem is that most women live life, their life experience is from a limited purview on easy mode, which does not match your non-limited, super hard mode existence as a guy. There are certain opportunities and things available to females that will never be available to you as a man. Okay? And I don't think women consciously understand this a lot of the times. They think that a lot of the opportunities and benefits that they have, men also have. But what they don't realize is feminism, okay, was at first about equality. But what it's become now is about superiority. Because now women have more rights and privileges than men do. Okay? I can't think of one right or privilege that men have that women don't. Okay? But I can think of a bunch of privileges and rights that women have that men don't. Women don't have to sign up for the selective service, yet they can vote. There's a bunch of scholarships out there and or DEI practices that push female candidates to the top of the line, whether they're qualified or not. Women have 100% autonomy when it comes to reproduction. Men have no reproductive rights in America, or the West for that matter. Hell, in some countries like France, the man can't even determine paternity. It's illegal. So So we've overcorrected the patriarchy to the point where we now live in what I call a soft gynocracy that is run by men, right, on paper, but these men have a woman's first gynocracy mindset in mind, okay? Men, all we do is enforce the force doctrine. But other than that, women have far more say in societal issues. And that's where we are. So when women say shit like, oh, we live in a patriarchy. Yeah, kind of. But it's a force. We live in a patriarchy monopoly of force held situation that women dictate the direction of. Does that make sense? So in other words, think of the men as the gun, right? We are the gun, we're the ammunition. The women pull the trigger, okay? The monopoly of force that we exercise is heavily directed by female influence. So if I had to give an analogous, example, that's what I say society is now. Men, the patriarchy, as they would say, is simply the gun. Women are the ones that are holding the gun and can pull the trigger and aim it. And that's where we are. And I think I think that's a serious problem because as we've seen through my thousands of debates with women, my interactions with on Twitter, my interactions with women on college campuses, even men too, by the way, it's extremely clear that the feels come before the reals. Okay. And I think that this is a trait or a mindset that's almost exclusive to females and a lot of these male feminists that you see on these college campuses, shit like that, they don't even believe half the shit they say. They just say it to get laid. Ooh, I'm going to be progressive so I can get laid. And women aren't even attracted to that shit anyway. But that's where we are as a society, chat. We have a majority of women that are absolutely ungrateful for male contributions, ungrateful for men running the world and giving them the cush, first world, easy life experience that many women get to enjoy today. And if we had to rely on female ingenuity, we'd still be in caves. I'm telling you guys. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek there. But honestly speaking, if we had to rely on female ingenuity, we would be living like the 1300s, bro. Real talk. We'd be living in biblical times, niggas. Okay? We'd still be eating porridge and farming our own food and shit and dealing with droughts if we had to deal with women. If we had to rely on female ingenuity. Women don't invent or create anything, okay? And you need to understand that as a man. And not only do you need to understand that, you need to understand that, accept that, and act accordingly. That's the most important part. You must act accordingly. It doesn't matter if I give you guys this information and tell you women are we know this. Now, what are you going to do? Since we know women are and they don't make good decisions when it comes to political affairs and or even their mate selection, this is precisely why every single one of you watching me right now needs to be a strong leader, capable man. Go to the gym, be in shape, understand how to defend yourself, do boxing, figure out how to shoot a gun, be competent, understand history, be a well-diversified individual. Don't be a because quite frankly, more than likely, the woman that you end up with is going to be a okay? So this is why you can't afford to be a and the difference between a woman and you is she will still be able to have a family. She will still be able to procreate. She will still be able to pass on her genes, no matter how retarded she is. That's not going to happen for you though, buddy. Bomba. So you have no choice but to rise above the normal. You have no choice but to become the best version of yourself. You have no choice but to make money. You have no choice but to go to the gym. You have no choice but to be a competent individual. So when I'm on here ranting with you guys and telling you guys to stop being lazy, stop being fat, etc., it's coming from a do or die perspective. A lot of you guys are support all day, not working, not making money, not doing what you're supposed to do, etc. You're over here watching Kai Cenat on repeat or some other streamer, or you're watching Netflix, right? You're on your 7th fab session for the day, and you wonder why no one respects you. Mediocrity is no longer tolerated, okay? Women make their own money now. As soon as women make their own money, they have their own status, etc., that has afforded them the privilege to discount guys like you. That maybe 50 years ago, you would have been able to get a wife. Maybe 50 years ago, you would have been able to get a girlfriend. But thanks to this marketplace becoming globalized, thanks to Instagram, thanks to dating apps, thanks to AI, women now have access to men that far exceed their own market value. And if you leave women to their own devices, what do? They exercise hypergamy. They get the best guy that they can get, no Gillette. So that's the truth. This is what your father won't tell you. This is what your brother won't tell you. This is what your uncle won't tell you. Maybe because they don't know how the marketplace is now. Maybe they don't want to make you have doom and gloom. Or maybe they met their wife at a period in time where women weren't like this. So they have an extremely limited perspective on how the dating market works now. I'm here to tell you guys, as a 35-year-old guy that's been with like hundreds of chicks, that's debated these bitches, that's been on college campuses, that talked to thousands of women at this point. I don't think anyone has a more established resume on the female mindset and feminism and women, how they operate, in general. I don't think anyone knows more than I do because I've simply talked to more women than anyone else and I've been around them. So I'm here to tell you guys, being an average guy is no longer it, bro. It is